All right, thanks for tuning in to Leading Forecast. It is 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 4 p.m. Central. We do have the new information out on Tropical Storm Isaac as of 5 p.m. It was positioned at 17.2 north and 71.9 west. Maximum winds were gusting at 70 miles per hour, and then our maximum sustained winds were 65 miles per hour. So it has continued to strengthen over just the past few hours. As of 2 o'clock, it was at 60 miles per hour. It is now moving off to the northwest at 16 miles per hour, with the central pressure of 994 millibars, or 29.34 inches. This is the official National Hurricane Center track. Here's your storm down here, and it tracks it to the northwest, right over Cuba, and then eventually up towards the Destin, Florida area as we get into early morning on Wednesday. Now, taking a look, the big thing we're going to have to watch, this has shifted somewhat south. We were watching this thing potentially tracking more up through this area, and they've shifted it a little farther west and a little farther south because of where the central location, or the center of low pressure system, has formed. And let's go on over, and this is the current watches and warnings. They've just issued a brand new tropical storm watch here for Lake Okeechobee and then points in southern Florida here, and as well as down through the Keys, and tropical storm warnings in effect now for the entire island of Hispaniola, as well as a large portion of the Cuban coast, and then the watch, of course, for the tropical storm in effect over Jamaica as well. Going on over to the current satellite image, and here's the storm down here. We do have some convection blowing up off to the northeast side of it, as well as just over the top of the center of circulation, which is exactly what we want to see. We want to see some of those thunderstorms starting to blow up right around the eye. We do have some dry air we're watching, which this is the infrared satellite. If we had the water vapor, we could show you, but there's a little bit of dry air still here. There's quite a bit of dry air out across this area, extremely dry air. And this is probably one of the things that's kind of hindering this storm from developing as quickly, is there is some dry air here. It's not as moist as the air up here or back here. And we do have kind of a trough that's dug in here at the mid-levels, and that spreads some dry air down to the Gulf. We do expect that to kind of move off to the east as this moves up here, and probably will not have any effect, at least the dry air won't have any effect on the thunderstorm, or I'm sorry, on the tropical system. Going on over, this is the 500 millibar pattern. You can see here's that big trough that we were talking about. We also have a shortwave trough that's starting to come through the southern plains here from northern New Mexico, eventually spreading over towards Oklahoma and northern Texas, the Texas Panhandle. It'll be interesting to see exactly how this moves through and affects the storm as it does start to move up towards the Florida coast. Going on over, let's go through some forecast models. This is the Canadian model, and we will zoom in here. And here is where it's forecasting landfall to occur down towards Miami as a hurricane. This bringing in as a potentially interesting hurricane as far as category. Looks like maybe Category 2, potentially weak Category 3 hurricane making landfall. However, I really think this model is incorrect. I just don't see that happening. This is the CMC model. You can see this is saying the same thing, making landfall, but this is a much weaker storm, probably a weak Category 1, more than likely a tropical storm. A lot of rain, though, which is going to be a big story with this storm, is what you're going to hear is the rainfall, if nothing else. But this making landfall somewhere right around or north of Miami there. This is another forecast model. Really don't think this one's correct as far. It may be correct as far as the actual place right here around Mobile Bay, Pensacola, places like that. I think it's probably underplaying the strength, though. I think we'll probably see a stronger storm than that. This is the ECMWF ensemble. This brings it over towards Biloxi, somewhere right around Biloxi, New Orleans area, as you can see right there, as a very weak storm. I don't think that's correct. And then this is the same model, just an operational model, and this brings it in as a very strong storm in generally the same area. So places from like Mobile Bay over towards Biloxi, over towards New Orleans. This would be one you would want to watch. This is the NGP model. This brings it on shore right around Destin as a tropical storm. And then going on over, sorry if I'm going through these quickly, the HWRF, or the HWRF, this brings it in right around the Destin area as a tropical, strong tropical storm as well. As you can see here, that's what the blue in here represents. So that's a good thing for them. As we get on over to the GFDL, this brings it in again. Making landfall somewhere around Destin or just to the east of Destin here. And then we do have this as a Category 1 storm. Some strong winds on the southwest side of this eye wall as indicated by this model. So places like Pensacola over towards Fort Walton Beach, you would end up getting the brunt of this storm according to this model. But again, we're so far out. Going on over to, I think this is the other CMC model that I was looking at. Again, bringing this over, or I'm sorry, this is the GFS model, I believe. This is bringing it over. This is one of our main models. Bringing it, impacting the Miami area first is probably a tropical storm. It brings it back across, kind of like Andrew did, and brings it and swings it back off to the north as it probably gets caught up in that shortwave trough. And that brings it somewhere between Panama City and Tallahassee, making landfall as maybe a weak hurricane or a strong tropical storm. And look at all the rain still associated with this thing. Going on over, this is the big one we're watching. This is the European model. You can see this brings a very strong hurricane, potentially Category 2, Category 3, right on the Mississippi-Alabama line. Biloxi over towards Mobile Bay, places like that would be hardest impacted by this kind of a storm. A lot of rain, a lot of storm surge, and a lot of winds. Going on over to this model, this is you can see making impact right around the Panama City area. We're looking at probably like a 986 millibar low there, and that would probably be a weak hurricane or a strong tropical storm. We go on over, this is a rapid precision mesoscale model, and taking a look at this, you can see we do have, it doesn't go out far enough to make landfall, at least in the United States, but it does show a Category 1 storm here meandering in the Gulf by next week. And then going over, this is the JMA, or the Japanese model. This in agreement with several different models, making impact as a strong tropical storm right around the Panama City area. So and then swinging over quickly to the NOGAPS. This is bringing in again as a tropical storm, probably making landfall just east of Destin. So there's a lot of different models we look at. Right now, probably my favorite model, if I can find it, just is this one. I think this is a very, very good representation of what we could see dealing with the GFDL model. I think Destin, Florida, 48 hours ago was my pick, and I've kind of stuck with it. I think that's going to be a highly likely target. We are so far out, it's hard to really pinpoint, but if I had to pinpoint somewhere right now, I would probably say Destin as a weak hurricane. I don't think, especially if this thing should travel over the island of Cuba here like we're forecasting. We'll swing back to kind of the original forecast track here. If this does go over Cuba, it's just going to get torn apart. And I would be very, very surprised if it makes it beyond a Category 1 or weak Category 2 storm if it impacts, say New Orleans eastward, which it probably will impact that area. I would be surprised to see it stronger than a Category 1 or a very weak Category 2 once it does make landfall. So we'll just have to wait and see. There's a lot of different things. The forecast track has slowly been shifting south. If something should happen, it'll stay off coast here and go south of Cuba. That would change the forecast model the forecast model intensity a lot. So that's all we're going to talk about today. We're going to continue to monitor this over the next several days until it does make landfall, which appears to be probably late Tuesday into early Wednesday. So anyways, that's all I have for the day. If you're down along the Gulf, keep a close eye on this thing. Again, if you want to follow me, I will be posting updates on Twitter. It is @SwiftForecaster, and on our Facebook page, I'll put a link to both at the end of this video. Have a good week.